Welcome back to the WatchTower Film Podcast, the film review podcast on the Towercast Network by cinema lovers for cinema lovers. This week, we're talking about a very fun, quirky, rich, bloody musical. But before we introduce the film, I may introduce my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Austin.
Woo! I will never do a movie like this.
Mr. Michael. Oh, hey, you got a lot of hate for this thing.
I would. I would definitely do this film in a heartbeat.
And the one who chose this film, Mr. Austin Young, in the back. Make sure we're sounding good.
Hi.
Yeah, you better.
Oh, no, baby. I'm your humble film servant, Carlos de la Torre. And we are back with another episode covering Tim Burton's 2007 musical, slasher musical, some would call it, Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
You on the plot shirt?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can I go?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Hi,
You
it's
have to
my
raise your
first
hand
time.
here.
It's my first time. I would just want to say,
What's
if
going
you're watching or listening to our podcast, please make sure to subscribe because we are doing this on a weekly basis.
Absolutely.
We just went over our comedy month, which you can go and review.
Yep.
And we got Halloween month
We
kicking
got
off.
Halloween month kicking off.
You guys know 92% of the people that watch this aren't subscribed.
92% are not subscribed.
Yeah. I think
Thank you
that's
for
the problem.
watching consistently, but you just got to click that button.
Yeah.
Or else
Um,
Sweeney Todd might give you a shave.
Or else Sweeney Todd might shave your balls. So let's...
So if you don't
Make
want that to
sure-
happen, ladies, just, let's go ahead and subscribe. And if you don't have a YouTube account, you have a Google account. I'm sure you do. Just sign in.
Subscribe
and
anywhere.
subscribe. Well, you can't if you don't have an account.
No,
buddy.
but what do they have a Spotify account? And they're listening
That's
to
a
us
good
right
point. I mean, I think he means YouTube.
now. I mean everywhere.
But please subscribe to the podcast.
Yes.
We do this on a weekly basis because
Yeah.
we love cinema. And hopefully you love hearing our thoughts about these films, in which case, just help us out. It helps us out.
Just a quick little reminder before we
Dive
start
on in now.
our
Bloody
show.
Trek. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Before we razor into this film,
Yeah.
Gusto, you have no say.
You're next.
I mean, that was pretty good. All right, let's cut into it.
So,
Good
This guy's
night.
good.
That's good.
now, cutting back to...
What are your thoughts on this film?
Dude. that 2 hours is...
By the way, I think this confirms that we can't do umbrellas.
No, you know
that's
what?
a different...
Screw that jazz.
No, all that jazz. We're doing that at some
We're
point.
doing umbrellas very soon. I'm very passionate about umbrellas.
The film they're talking about is Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which I've been wanting to do on this podcast for probably a couple years now.
Shaboy loves Shaborg.
That's actually pretty good.
Shibuya. Roll call.
Shibuya. Roll call.
Shaboy. Loves Cherbourg. I love it. I love it. We're talking about Sweeney Todd. Now, this film has been on my list for a bit. More specifically, Austin. Jeez, man, you really hated this film. Austin has been telling me for
I've
years
seen
that,
that
you know,
list, dude. Not even been weird.
Jeez. No, but I mean,
running out of
Austin
stuff to
knows
throw.
I love music. These guys know I love musicals, and I'd never seen this, so there's an
Yeah,
interesting pick for
Reason,
sure.
right?
Jeez, keep
man.
going. You got some monsters to throw on your laptop.
I mean, if you love musicals, why haven't you watched this one? That's
Isn't it?
Wow,
You know,
you're
first
just-
question to start
Oh
this
my
off.
god.
it's an interesting.
It's weird.
question.
His camera just stopped rolling.
You know why? I think because I wasn't the biggest fan of this era of Tim Burton. I think that's what turned me off. Like the mid 2000s, early 2010s.
Give me some movies around that.
I mean,
era.
like he did Alice in Wonderland right after this, which I wasn't a huge fan of.
Well, this
I
was
got back
the
on
Willy
Tim's-
Wonka. This was like during the Charlie
Yeah,
Chocolate
exactly. Like Willy Wonka, it's one of those comfort films. I'll still
Yeah,
watch
but
it.
it's a very... It's that era.
Yeah.
That era of Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I mean, just like film dynamics. I don't really know.
I didn't
we'll
really
talk about it more.
get
But yeah.
back on Tim's side until he did Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. When he did that, that was like 2011, 12 maybe?
16.
16, geez, yeah. I didn't really get back on his
Oh,
camp
man.
until then.
He also did Series of Unfortunate Events that came out.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't even never a big fan
I'm a
of the
big fan of
books
that
or
one.
anything, so I never even saw it.
Well, it had Jim Carrey, right?
of course.
As
Of course.
Lemony
Dabba
Snicket.
dabba dee, yeah.
Lemony Snicket? That's the character's name.
Jiminy.
Right?
No.
Lemony
No, that's
Snicket.
Jiminy Cricket.
That's another one.
That's another one?
Yeah.
I thought that was a character's name. Lemony Snicket.
I think that's like the dad, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, anyway, but
Yeah.
it's that era. I mean, I
Yeah,
think everybody
just-
knows that era. Like,
I just wasn't a fan of Tim in that era, so
Yeah.
that's probably why I didn't see it. More than likely.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
that's why I didn't.
Your pick this week, Austin. Tell us why, and then you get to choose who goes first.
Yeah, and more specifically on the why.
Also,
Just hammer that in a little.
kick his ass.
I'm gonna
Kick
kick
his
his
ass,
ass
man.
afterwards. Somebody had to kick
Somebody
his
ought to
ass.
kick his ass.
Somebody ought to kick his ass.
No, this film was first shown to me by my sister.
Yep.
Shout
Makes
out
a
to
ton-
sisters.
Shout out to Alicia because
Oh,
it
Yeah,
makes
she's
a
the one that got me into
ton of sense. She loves musicals,
Yeah.
Okay.
and she was a big theater kind
Yeah.
of person in high school and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, so she's the one that got me into it, and then it's just for me, it's one of those remote dropper films. Like
Yeah?
it always catches my attention. Anytime
Yeah.
I see it on, I have to watch.
Well, how old were you when you saw it? You see it
I
in the
think when it
movies?
came out, like on DVD. I think when I
Okay.
first saw it, because Blu-rays weren't invented yet. I had to
Well,
see it on
like-
DVD.
2007.
This was
I think they
2000
were.
Yeah.
I think they barely were.
Yeah, so
This was
Well, what's
2007.
2007.
You were.
12, 13?
Okay.
You're probably like 6.
So what stood out the most, like the music or the?
Yeah, the style, the
the
music and
grittiness of
stuff,
it.
and then just the grittiness and the story
You
and
said
everything.
12 years old, people getting their neck and throat slashed.
Better than what
Well,
you
he
were
wasn't
watching.
getting his
yeah.
neck kissed, so
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
what it.
You know,
Yeah,
I just
dude,
substituted
I
with
found a little
something. Yeah.
graphic.
More than this film.
Whatever he had under your bed was more graphic than this film at the age of 12. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, dude. I got in trouble for sure.
Well, anyways,
I've seen the pictures.
But yeah, that's what
it
it
just grasped.
Yeah,
you
it
at
just
a-
immediately
at a-
grasped me. And
yeah.
I have to watch it at least like once a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned this was like one of your tops,
It's up there, but I wouldn't
like
put
top
it, like,
10.
No,
top
not that high.
20.
I'd put it maybe top 30.
Top 32.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's still pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like,
Like, I don't think it's like a masterpiece, but it's a fun watch.
No, but it's
More than a fun watch. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of style to it.
Yeah.
I'll say my opinion when I say my rating, but who do you want to go first?
Gosso's not giving a rating this episode, so we'll
Actually,
start
you know
with
what? Why don't you go first?
Me.
Yeah, give it.
No,
Wait,
it's
how
my
about you
pick.
let him decide if
Yeah.
he wants to go first?
Damn, dude. Everybody just went in. Yo, how about you shut up?
Yo, how about you go wash my car?
and
and
come back
we'll,
when we need you.
Let's hear from Delao first.
will you tell us now
Tell
what
us
your
your
rating
rating
is?
Is it horrible? Is
About
it
an
rented? Is it great?
8.2. No, I'll give this one.
Oh, dude, he's solid, bro.
I'll give this one an 8.5. I feel like for the style, I mean the cinematography, there was a lot
Yeah.
well executed on the film.
That's generous for sure. Just like that.
I feel like it wasn't like this film. There's some films where in the simplicity, there's a lot of merit to the story and all that, but this one had both a really captivating story, which
Yeah.
Adele comes from like the stage play and
Yeah.
all that. But then they use the medium of film to really bring the
Yeah.
world to life
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bring the characters to life, add more texture. So, and that's
Yeah.
that's what I'll talk about more is that we talk about the differences between like let's say a book,
theater
a
and film,
play, film, and how all these different mediums, performance mediums, have their pros and their cons. But
Darius Wolski, by the way, in case
Yeah.
you were wondering, was the DP on this, and I mean,
fantastic job.
yeah,
What else
yeah.
has he done?
He
Actually,
did
pretty good.
Prometheus. He did The
Did he-
Martian. He did.
He did more Tim Burton things because
Yeah, I
Sounds
think
like
he
he's
worked
one
with
of
him a couple. I think he did Alice actually right after this. He did The Last Duel.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, fantastic work. I mean, again, we talk about the strengths of different mediums, and in adapting something, you're like, okay, can you tell the story better?
He DP'd Stan, Eminem's Stan music video.
Oh, wow.
That's such a similar kind of
Yeah,
texture,
dude.
right?
Dude, he
For
also
sure.
DP'd the Frito-Lay short for Twas the Night Before the Super Bowl.
Welcome back,
Welcome back.
Crimson
But yeah.
Tide.
8.5. I was really captivated by the story, but more so, I was captivated by the
The style.
and then plus there was moments where you could definitely tell it took inspiration from like the stage lighting because there's a lot to be inspired from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean this fell into my wheelhouse as far as like visuals and all that, and I
Right.
really got behind it. I think it only sits below a 9 just because we need to talk more about it and see how it contributed maybe to the larger medium of cinema. But as far as the film, I thought it was really good. So 8.5 is my starting rating.
Fair.
That's where I'm at. Austin,
fair,
who
fair,
goes
fair,
next?
fair.
Now, does your reaction? I mean, obviously we're gonna talk about this later, but you had the biggest reaction when you found out it was the wife.
The twist.
Oh,
Yeah, like I said, the story, super, super captivating. If you haven't seen it or heard it or watched it,
Spoiler alert.
do that soon.
And why are you
Pause
watching?
it and then
Huh?
Why are you watching?
Yep, right now.
I'm just doing
quickly.
a quick Burton
Well,
filmography sweep to touch on those points a little bit.
But as far as yeah, like I was super captivated from by the story. I've started getting more and more into musicals. Like I went to go watch Hamilton, and
Yeah,
I started
yeah, we all
seeing
did.
a lot of like more appreciation for storytelling of that type.
Yeah.
And this was no different. I thought it was like extremely well done, and the cast knocked it out of the park as far
Absolutely.
as their performances.
Cast
So
was one of them.
yeah, I was
Strongest.
I was blown away by it. And then those little subtleties, those like quick little lines, and then they continue the scene. You have to sit with whatever's going to be the regret. And I mean that's common in a lot of like tragedies, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just these quick moments of like
It has
Oh,
to.
you know.
It has to leave you absolutely, no pun intended, gutted.
yeah.
I mean, it has to leave you. A tragedy has to leave you gutted. You know.
Yeah, and even like simple things like the technique of having the light shine on her more than it has the entire film. Because the
Yeah.
first time we see her or hear from her, her face is covered and shadowed and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And only little bits do
Yeah.
we get to see of her. But then when we finally see her face, that's supposed to really emphasize that punch.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
that was super impressive. Something, again, using the medium of film to tell your story even better than it
Yeah.
could be done any other way.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
8.5.
8.5.
First time, right?
First
Yeah.
time, not last time for sure.
Wait, it's everybody's first time, right? Besides me.
Yeah.
first and only time.
Carlos.
Swarlos.
Want me to go next?
Swartini.
I've been thinking about this a lot.
Fun fact about Carlos, he's been thinking about it quite a lot.
quite a lot.
Fun fact about Carlos, he has a Criterion mug today.
I
One
do. I
fact about
usually do.
Carlos,
I
he's
think
gonna
this is
get
my
a
favorite
haircut.
mug here at the office.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Carlos is matching his shirt with the shoes.
With my what?
With your shoes.
Oh yeah.
Fun fact about Carlos, the curtains in his house are not installed yet.
Fun fact about
I
Carlos.
don't have curtains.
is
You're right.
His shirt is the same color as his car.
Fun fact about Carlos, he has a rating.
I do have a rating. No, I just want to preface my rating with this. I'm obviously a big fan of musicals, and that already carries a little bit of a bias because I think. Why does that all remind me of Peanut? You know the puppet from Jeff Dunham.
Oh, yeah.
You know the guy, the monkey with the hair and shit? Like that's my pal over here.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I can't unsee it now.
I just think it's extremely difficult to tell a story
Yes.
through a musical.
Yes.
And when you can do it, you have my respect a lot because not everybody can do it.
I know it's difficult, but can you go on?
I can't even. This is a podcast, pal. This is where we give our thoughts. You want me to rush to my? Fine, I'll rush.
You
to
said
my,
it was difficult. I just wanted to be supportive.
Can you please give
I
us
had-
your rating?
I had 3 cups of coffee.
You did. You really did. Yeah.
I
You had
needed
had
a
bump
perk up.
powdered sugar too. I think. So I'm telling you, dude, he's Peanut. You know.
Do it, Dalal. Do it.
Yeah.
You do know the character.
Regrettably so.
No, yeah, but that's a big thing. Like I think it's extremely hard to tell, and especially in today's day and age, it's extremely hard to compel, to maintain the audience's attention through musical. And like I said, I haven't really been the biggest Tim Burton fan. I will say this. This falls within my top 3 Tim Burton films.
Nah.
No, it does because I think it's one of his most best directed films. I think in terms of strategy as a director, he knew exactly what he was doing. Whereas in other times, like he has to pull out all the bells and whistles to make a film. He has to pull out the special effects, the special Tim Burton moments. Danny Elfman's score obviously makes.
Really?
Not this.
Oh, okay.
No. That's what I'm saying. In a typical Tim Burton
Oh,
film,
yeah, yeah.
you'll have Danny Elfman
Exactly.
bring up the film as well, and all the kind of quirky elements that Tim offers. I don't think that makes him a bad director in the slightest. But if it were up to me, right now, I think I put this as like my number 3, Tim Burton. number one is Ed Wood. Ed Wood will probably always be my favorite Tim Burton film. Then
He directed Ed Wood?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Edward Scissorhands, and then this. And I just think stylistically, Tim has always had his own style. You know when you're watching a Tim Burton film, and I think that's what I love about this one. You don't really know this is a Tim Burton film. My other bias is this.
You really don't know you do.
I don't think you do. I don't think you know that this is a Tim Burton film. The musical
genre definitely takes away from it.
It distracts you, whereas a Tim Burton film is usually just trying to constantly entertain you, constantly drawing you in with the visuals, constantly drawing you in with its quirkiness. This is just drawing you in with the story.
True.
I think that's impressive to detach his style, still have some Burton sprinkled in there, but it's not distracting. I think that's super impressive. That being said, my other bias is it's not so much that this film is a musical; it's a Stephen Sondheim musical. Stephen Sondheim is a legend. West Side Story. He wrote the lyrics for West Side Story along with Leonard Bernstein, who Bradley Cooper's playing in a film that he directed coming out later this year called Maestro. And but Sondheim did Into the Woods, man. He did some of the best musicals ever, period. And when they adapt his stage plays into films, it doesn't always go well, as per usual, right? I love that you guys said at the opening of the film that, oh yeah, or like midway through the film, you guys were like, yeah, I can see how this could have been a play. I could see that, but it wasn't the emphasis. Like, it was very cinematic. Yeah, it was very cinematic. Yeah. I thought it was very cinematic. Really? It didn't feel like I was in one room the entire time.
That's why I kept asking if it was a set or if it was like a real, like they shut down.
Yeah. No, it was a set. It was shot at Pinewood Studios in London, and which was where he shot Batman, which was where all the Harry Potter films were shot. Some of the early Star Wars films were shot. So Pinewood Studios in London.
But there's some movies you watch where the limiting angles and the limiting focus are very reminiscent of like a stage and like a play.
Now, and it did feel like it.
But no, I feel like
really?
I mean, it had elements of it when you're like in his chair. And that's when you have to be the most intimate.
Like, you can see that room in the stage.
No, yeah, for sure. But I mean, look at the elements of like, even like when she's singing the song about how she imagines herself getting married to him and that they're going to have this whole life and that this boy that they just found is going to be like their son and they're going to have friends and all that. And they travel through like the beach and getting married and having a house and all this kind of stuff. Those are things that
not just even the meat pie shop when it's being successful and you see all the people and you see the movement of the camera and you see just all these really great cinematic elements.
True.
I think because look, Sondheim had nothing to worry about in this scenario because the only two other films I can think of that did this as successful, if not more successfully. I personally like the film version of Into the Woods. I've seen the stage play. I've seen the film. I like the film version. The cast is perfect for that film too. I think Rob Marshall directed that one, if I'm not mistaken. But I love Into the Woods. And then even more importantly, more grandiose West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. The original West Side Story feels like a play. Spielberg's doesn't. And by that same token, this one doesn't distract you that way. When it's intimate, it's intimate. When it's open, it's open. It used every value of the cinematic element to tell the story.
And enhance it.
I disagree.
Well,
one too many.
My rating, and then we'll go there. But I that being said, I think the film does have some problems. Mostly because of its commercialization. We'll get into that in a bit. I'm at a 7.9 right now. That being said, 7.9 for me right now. A ton of reasons. Mostly, I've seen better musicals. That's kind of the bottom line. I've seen much better musicals. I've seen this done better. I've seen adaptations done better.
A Sweeney Todd.
No, musicals. Musical adaptation, a stage adaptation. I've seen them done a little better. But I've seen them done a lot worse. Like Dear Evan Hansen was terrible. The film adaptation was horrible.
So why did he get such
the play got recognition. The film was. I didn't think the film was good. That being said, 7.9 right now. We'll get into why a little later, but I think you're up, pal.
Nope.
Oh no. Okay.
Skip
No, look.
You're going last.
Look,
You're going last.
Huh?
You're going last.
Okay, go for it.
I give it a solid 9.
Oh, what?
Solid 9?
Solid 9 on the board.
All right, Costa, you're up.
Look, man, musicals aren't my cup of tea until I saw La La Land.
Yeah, I remember that had still had a big impact on you. Think it's because of the actor thing?
I don't
It's
know.
an actor story, you know.
Yeah, probably. But there's some things that I really did like about it.
Okay.
I like the gritty vibe. I think we mentioned it where it kind of felt like Sherlock Holmes type of
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
So I like
Well,
that type
I was
of
saying
vibe.
the set looked very similar to like the market scene in Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
When I think of
little
gritty
misty.
London, or rather, when I think of Jack the Ripper, famous
Ooh,
folklore in London, I think of this texture.
Exactly.
Right? I think it has that for
That's
sure.
this
By
is
the way,
my
this
type
takes
of.
place in the 1840s.
1745.
We didn't hear that.
When was
It
the
says
Victorian
1840s.
era? Is it around this
Well,
time?
Victorian was more American than it was. I guess it was
Inspired
UK,
by
yeah.
they went through the Gothic era.
Gothic,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, maybe that was the original story because the play itself was written in the 1870s. But yeah, this thing has been running around the original story, but it was set. The original play was set in 1790 or something like that. So maybe the play, maybe this was set later. You're right. Maybe.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
But yeah, like okay,
Yeah.
I like the theme. I like how they lit it and everything. Second, I like the soundtrack. Obviously, it's memorable. It keeps the pace going. You could tell when like something's gonna happen. I just don't like it when they have to sing for everything, dude. Like I understand. I know where you're coming from. How you're saying like they did it beautifully in every single way, but there was some.
Knock this guy out.
Well,
with
no,
umbrella.
we're gonna strap him
some
in
parts
for
where it was just like-
umbrellas.
Yeah.
like Clockwork's Orange.
Yeah,
just
just
eye
like
drops.
umbrellas. Stuff.
Not my cup of tea.
Okay.
But no.
Fair.
I give it. It's Johnny Depp.
And what you said before we wrote, if I'm not mistaken, you thought was one of his worst roles.
Has Johnny Depp ever done like a musical or singing?
I think this has been the only one.
It was-
I mean, he
it
did
was-
Cry Baby. I don't know if that counts.
I don't know. I had a lot of like actor questions. Like,
Why this?
I don't know. Obviously, like
How?
Well, he has a loyalty to Burton. That's first and foremost, right?
I don't know.
He
I'm
has a
trying to
loyal-
think of actor questions.
He has a loyalty to Burton.
Depp
Not
was
much-
Into the Woods.
Huh?
He was Into the Woods.
Barely
It's listed.
in that. He has a tiny part in that film.
He was in Tusk.
who?
He was in Tusk. Johnny Depp.
No.
Johnny Depp was in Into the Woods, another Sondheim.
Oh shit.
But yeah, he plays the wolf. He does. He plays the wolf that eats or tries to eat the Little Red Riding Hood, and he's in there for 5 minutes. I mean, it's
I gotta
funny,
see
but
it
he's there.
But I guess I'll give it a.
Just rip off the bandit.
I'll give it like a 7.2.
That's not terrible.
Yeah, it's still passing grade.
What were the good qualities you mentioned that you felt?
Dude,
The
I
bad-
like,
the
I like
bad-
the way it's
well,
shot.
yeah.
I like anything London over the. I love it. I want to.
That culture and stuff.
Yeah, dude. One of my first films. I got to do it over there. The soundtrack. I like anything that Johnny Depp's in, dude. It was weird seeing this guy like kind of like sing. Like I know he does that in Alice in Wonderland, but
Yeah, kind of. Right?
Kinda, right?
Kind of.
it's just I don't know, man. It's just trying to find something to say about it. It's just
Dude, honestly, with me, with Depp in this film, I don't see Johnny Depp.
I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think this is one of his most
How can you
detached
have-
roles. I think because of
this is
the
your basic Johnny Depp where he doesn't say much, and when he says you know,
No, but like I felt like with this one, you see almost this one's more human than most
Yeah,
of like Depp's
yeah,
roles because
absolutely.
Depp plays this character that's usually over the top.
Yeah.
Or like
And
his
he
early
lost
stuff-
that. He
yeah.
lost that for a while. That's when he lost that when he started working with Tim. Which is why, no, honestly, dude. I mean, we haven't talked about What's Eating Gilbert Grape in this podcast, but like those films, even Crybaby to me has a lot of just enjoyment for me. But he lost that a little bit by playing these blockbuster kind of over the top characters. This brought him down a bit. You on the surface level, somebody can analyze and say, oh yeah, it's just another quirky Tim Burton, Johnny Depp thing. But when you really dive into it and you really pay attention, it's like, oh, I kind of get why he got nominated for an Oscar for this. I agree. I thought he was super detached from himself.
And then plus, I mean, the moments where the song isn't. It's a weird place because the song's usually meant to emphasize emotion. It's meant to emphasize what
Yeah.
they're thinking, especially the scene whenever he's with the judge in the chair and they're singing the same song but their intonations what tells you their mentality. Like one's singing about getting back to a girl that he loves, and the other one's singing about getting the girl back from this monster. And they're both in that same vein, so it's super interesting. But
let me ask you this, guys, as an actor, first and foremost, as a viewer.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like the over the top of each other singing. It was just kind of.
But that's like that's very Sondheim. That's very Sondheim.
What was it?
My question for you is, at its most foundational level, as a viewer, as an actor, however you want,
right?
Did you feel anything for this character, for what he was going through? Did you feel for his daughter, his wife,
To be honest with you, no.
You didn't. Okay, I mean that's fair. That's a fair assessment. That's a big deal, and why you feel the way you feel. Yeah.
I think I got to see more musicals, but I think too much of the singing was taken away from the actual story. I know that's not what he was trying to do, but it was just kind of coming from somebody that doesn't like musicals. It was just kind of like
yeah. That's fair. No, it's fair.
It's fair. Funny. So fun fact. Fun fact. I'm a barista. We all knew this, but I was working the other day at the register, and this guy came up and he says, "Hey, I need one of these drinks. It's a pink drink with cold foam." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm in the doghouse." And I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he's like, "Man, my wife took me to go see Barbie. And the first 5 minutes they started singing. I'm like, forget this." So then he said, "I just walked out and now she's all pissed at me. So just make it the largest one, and I'm gonna try to see if I can sleep in the bed tonight." And I was like, "Okay, man. I feel you." And then
that's funny.
And it's funny, but so many people are under that same stigma that if it's singing and if it's musical,
story of my life.
It's like this. It's this.
Well, it didn't also help that you guys had the subtitles, and I just kept reading them.
Yeah, you hate reading your songs. No, but it's
no, that's fine, dude. It's most people will agree with you, guys.
Something I wanted to tackle is just kind of like how polarizing that is. That it's really interesting that the medium of singing
of music,
it really takes you away. But I think what's interesting about this one and the other one we want to show you is that people usually, when they think of musicals, I think that they're thinking of Grease, or they're thinking of
high school musical,
high school musical, things that are cheery and peppy and happy, and it's almost like it's too sweet to even watch. And these ones play the exact opposite tone, that dark, that grittiness, and the song then it makes you question, are they singing to be overly elated, or are they singing to express these wider ranges of emotion? And that's where I appreciate about it having that kind of singing.
I have a very interesting parallel that Burton was aiming for in this film that maybe might help open up your senses to process like a musical like this.
Add some water to his whiskey.
What if it's not my type of musical? Because my type of musical is La La Land.
Yeah, I mean,
that one barely had singing, I think.
Well, that and La La Land's a little more grounded in reality. I mean, that's part of it. But what I was gonna say is the blood. On the stage play, you don't. It's very muted. The blood. Burton's not a bloody guy. He's not a slasher guy. You don't see a lot of blood in his films. He very purposefully wanted the blood in this film because, as he said, everything with Sweeney Todd is so internal that when he's cutting somebody open, when there's blood flowing, it's like his emotions coming out. So that's a good way to translate the musical aspect. When he's singing, it's when he's at the peak of his emotions to try to communicate where he's at emotionally and internally.
Okay.
Which is kind of the purpose with all musicals, like Dalal said. It's a sense of heightened reality. People will never break into song generally when having a conversation, but that's the point of musicals. That's why it's so hard, because you think most people, let's point out the elephant in the room. Most people think it's silly. Most people think musicals are silly, and that's because of its reputation of bad musicals or cheesy musicals.
Yeah, or kids musicals, where it just you see these cartoons that come out and they're singing every 5 seconds, like the Frozens, where it's all meant to be this big peppy happy thing. Yeah, but you look at plays and theater and
it's
the history.
Using it with purpose, with more purpose, with more intention, and that's why I'm a big defender of musicals. It's like no, it's not that. I promise you. Yeah, it's not what it was for 10 years. It's something much more special, and that uses these elements to pull at your heartstrings a little more with intention. Yeah.
And not to say that it's bad if you
don't like it.
Yeah.
No, I just like I was saying on the last episode, I just think my palette hasn't been
exposed to
to
enough good musicals.
Enough music.
That's fair. That's fair. I think this is a good bridge into that because this is a good musical.
Yeah.
It has its issues, but it is a good musical. So I think it will hopefully open up your palette to what I would identify as way more structured musicals.
Yeah.
But that being said, this film's really interesting. This story is really interesting. Did you give it a rating yet, Austin?
A 9.
Flat 9. Sorry. The original story of the demon Barber, I think at the time actually he was called the Killer Barber or something like that. If you guys have ever heard of Penny Dreadfuls, and no, not the series, but Penny Dreadfuls were these magazines, these zines back in the day in the 19th century of literature and entertainment. And think of it like novellas. Think of it like little novels, right? Little fun little novels. And it kind of originated in these novellas. Just little episodic moments of a barber killing, but it had no purpose. It was just like a fun little, let me be naughty and entertain people.
Yeah, it's almost like a campfire story, right? Where it's just like, and then he gets you, and that's kind of all it's for.
Then in the 1970s, this was in the 1890s. In the 1970s, it was adapted into a musical. And this musical just came about, up to a play. And this play came about with more intention. I'm going to give him a backstory. Why is he killing? Which is when they set up, he goes to prison for 11 years. 11 or 15? 15 years. And when he comes back, all of this happens. So he gave the backstory of the arc of the character. And then Sondheim came about 79 and said, this would make for a great musical. Either we could use these musical elements in the stage play to really bring this emotion out. And he co-wrote it with, I forget his name, but he was the guy who wrote Cabaret. He did the book. Sondheim did the lyrics and music. That's usually how it works with musicals. Somebody will write the book, this actual play, and then the composer will write the music and the lyrics. In the case of Hamilton, which is why Lin-Manuel Miranda's a genius, he wrote both. So like it's just very few people can do that, but it's special in that sense. It went through like these 3 different iterations, and then when we finally got to the musical iteration, it's kind of the most concrete iteration. When it comes to the making of the film, this thing has been in development since the 1980s. Burton, before he wanted to be a filmmaker, before he knew what he wanted to do, he says, I didn't know if I wanted to be a filmmaker or work in a gas station or something like that.
What?
He said, but I stumbled into this play. He was going to school in London. And the opening night, I think 1979, he went to see the play. And he's like, I saw it 3 nights in a row after that. I didn't know why, because I didn't know I wanted to be a storyteller, but I knew it just attracted me that much. Lo and behold, he gets success as a filmmaker. He approaches Sondheim and says, hey man, I want to do this, kind of like mid 80s. And Sondheim's like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Burton went off and got more success. Early 2000s, 03, 04, 05. Sam Mendes develops a film with Sondheim. Sam Mendes did, American Beauty. He did 1917. He did. He's that guy, and then he got offered another film, another very popular film. I forget which one. He went off to go do that, and then Burton replaces him as a director because he wanted to make this film. Again, Sondheim was super skeptical about making a film adaptation because they never come out really good. But he gave trust to Tim. Tim reworked the script with the writer, who I really, really want to talk about because, this writer is a name you don't know, and he's written some of the best fucking films in the last 30 years. John Logan. Most people most recently will probably know him for like the new Bond films, Skyfall, Spectre, all these films. He wrote Gladiator, and most importantly, He wrote quite a few films for Mr. Martin Scorsese, to include Hugo. It's my favorite film of his.
Wow.
He wrote The Aviator. He wrote,
what?
yeah, dude, yeah.
Under the radar, this guy.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't really know his name.
Rango?
He did do Rango. He did do Rango with Depp, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then most recently, They Them, whatever that is, film.
Isn't They
TV
Them?
film?
Oh,
Kevin
I thought
Bacon.
it was like a horror film.
It is. It looks like a horror film.
Yeah, I think it's like a contemporary horror film.
Okay.
That one didn't look great.
I'm not sure what he's up to now, but I mean, he did like The Last Samurai. He did
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Any Given Sunday.
Oh,
He did RKO 281, which is a great TV movie about the making of Citizen Kane. But yeah, anyways, he's a damn good writer, and he wrote the screenplay for this. And then Burton came in and helped him rework the screenplay just to kind of match his style. But that's kind of how this film came about.
Was Johnny Depp always the main guy?
He was the first one attached.
Okay.
He was always the first one attached.
Here's
yeah.
my thing. How you were talking about that era where it was he was doing Alice in Wonderland. You don't think this is why? Did it do good besides getting a nod? Like
It did extremely well in the
It
box
did extremely
office.
well?
It tripled its budget.
I remember I didn't watch it because it just run my. It was just kind of one of those like. Isn't that Edward
Movies.
Scissorhands? Isn't
Did Sleepy
that,
Hollow come out
Budget
after?
was 50. Gross
Midweek.
worldwide made 153.
Yeah.
So it was all right.
Tripled its
Tripled.
budget.
Yeah, it tripled.
But did Sleepy Hollow come after this? Yeah, right. I'm sure.
No, that was no.
Came before?
Way before. That was 90s, no?
Because you see
Sleepy
this.
Hollow was 99.
Okay, the marketing reminded me of Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, that's why I probably didn't see it because I thought
Yeah.
it was just one of those like, oh, is this part of like Alice in Wonderland? Is it one of those?
It just
like,
feels like
Yeah.
another like Depp in a
Exactly.
Tim Burton film. Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, that's why I just never.
It's funny that you guys say that the marketing.
Because I'll try anything Johnny Depp for sure.
Nobody wanted to touch this film with a 10-foot pole in terms of distribution.
Why?
And then because it was too bloody, it was too dark. The context of the story was super
But,
dark.
oh.
But again, this is my problem with it. My problem with it is that it feels like they tailored this thing to be super commercial. Whereas if they would have just stuck to the gritty, like
what elements,
let's go everything, like just the overall like aura of the film feels like a Johnny Depp blockbuster.
To me, it feels like a Warner Brothers blockbuster.
Yeah,
When you look
yeah.
at like the cinematography
Yeah.
and there's some shots
Harry
that are
Potter.
over
Oh,
the
yeah?
top and all
Oh,
that.
yeah?
It's
It's got
very
that
much
aura.
in like they were
Yeah.
going for a summer
That is
blockbuster
true.
film.
Yeah. That's my
you
biggest
go to
issue
watch
with the
it
film.
and it
But
feels.
maybe just the intro and stuff like that. But once it
No,
gets
no,
going,
no.
it's like,
I feel like
you'll like that.
anytime.
Look,
Really?
it's weird, man. It's weird to blame it for that because of a few different reasons. It's weird to blame it for that because if you really think about it, typically a Broadway play lasts 3 to 4 hours, right? They shortened this story substantially. They cut out characters to the point where there were 3 in the original play, and then there's 3 ghost narrators that didn't even make the cut.
Oh, damn.
Didn't even make the filming, and one of the ghost narrators was casted. They casted Christopher Lee, which would have been fucking amazing.
Imagine.
You kidding me? But if I'm not mistaken, the 3 ghost narrators are like victims that fucking were killed. That's why they're telling the story. So that would have been a great element to see, right? But they cut it out because of time. They mostly cut it out of time because the production of this film was paused because Lily Rose Depp got really sick as a baby. And they literally stopped production because Johnny had to be with his kid. And I think she was like severely ill of
And
something.
you were thinking that the actress was Lily Rose.
I know, I was like, she looks
I was
like
like,
Lily
nah,
Rose
man.
Depp, man.
She's too young.
But yeah, she's little. But anyways, I bring that up because those elements got cut down. The relationship between the daughter and the boy, that substantially got cut down. I think it works for the film. I think the best thing this film has going for it is the pace. This film does not feel slow. It does not feel like a stage play in that regard that you're just like, all right, get on to act 3. It feels extremely well paced. The music has a lot to do with that, but they cut this down, and Stephen Sondheim was in favor. It's like, because usually when they adapt the musical, they want to include everything, and that just tires people out. It tuckers people out. I think if I had my druthers, I would have been one of the guys who wanted to see a prolonged, juicier
Like
kind of
extended cut or something.
yeah, you know.
But I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'll say that for what they did accomplish with the
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
again, going back to my first point, the strength in theater
Yeah.
where, you know, you need the time for actors to reposition. You need the time for actors to get into a certain place,
Swings,
lighting to change and all that kind of stuff. Having those narrators lends itself to the stage play, right?
Yeah.
So you
As
can
a format.
you can definitely see where that's using the elements at hand for theater to grow it. But here, I feel like, you know, it was able to accomplish it without the narration and probably all that. Because
what I appreciated it to your point is it thrusts you into the story, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
and it
dilly-dally.
creates depth. I felt like it creates depth in in the environment and the atmosphere. I love when they're looking out the window and they're talking about, you know, the potential victims or looking for the girl and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they really, you know, fall to the blockbuster. But because of the budget and everything, they were able to really go into the world and you see all these different faces and you see people enjoying and all that. So,
for sure.
The community in there was lively. So I can see where they cut things out, but also I felt like that's what helps this separate itself, where it's not like, oh, I'm battling between why wasn't this just made a play and why wasn't this,
it could have been worse. I mean, studios, when they usually get involved, they'll cut this thing down to 90 minutes. You know what I mean? They're just to get more seats in the theater. But what's funny about it is Warner Brothers signed up for this. Paramount signed up for this. He has 3 distributors. And because, nobody wanted to touch it. But the marketing aspect, everybody was pissed off about because they didn't market this as a musical. So everybody went thinking they're going to see it. The commercials, nothing had musical.
I never knew it was a musical until it was brought up by Austin.
Yeah. So they did that to not give that out. To not give that away, to kind of shock people. So it pissed people off, but it's still, people were still coming to the theaters and did it well, right?
Like, is it a strategy? Like they knew it would turn people away if
it's a Warner Brothers thing, right? Was this film rated R? I don't think so. Yeah, it was rated R. I mean, that's part of it. Warner Brothers, this was around the time when they were releasing The Departed. The Departed.
Oh, that's a movie.
That is a movie.
That was too.
The Departed had similar marketing strategies. Like, we're not going to give too much away. And we were just talking about this earlier when you guys were seeing the Ferrari trailer. Like, I'm so happy they didn't give anything away because it's so overdone now that they'll give stuff away in the trailers.
Yes.
So Warner Brothers was really good at, like, let's just give the nitty gritty, get people to the theaters stuff. And they probably knew a musical was not going to get people to the theaters.
Because it would have been really weird if they had marketed it as a musical.
Right.
And that, I think, would have gotten a certain crowd. Maybe even the crowd of like, oh, it's happy and peppy. And if it's a Halloween musical for like the family and kids and all that
When
kind
was
of stuff.
it released? Was it released around Halloween time?
Let's take the family and watch this.
Yeah, no, I feel like musicals, usually that's what happens.
Yeah, they get diminished to that, for sure. And it's marketing too, right?
It got released in December.
Huh?
December 3rd.
Oh, well,
Christmas
that cold kind of
cold.
atmosphere.
But yeah, I mean, it's just the reason I bring that up too is because I think it could have been worse in its approach because studio controls everything. But I think Tim Burton had enough clout to be like, let me do my thing, you know? And again, I'll stand by my sentence. I think by all intents and purposes, Tim Burton is an auteur. I don't think he's in my top 30 directors.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think he's amazing. I wouldn't, you know.
But he's definitely distinct in his style.
He's distinct. He's an auteur for sure, which is why this impresses me because I think this had more care to it. I also think he was just under a lot of pressure because it's a Stephen Sondheim thing. I'm gonna go off the rails a little bit and say I don't think this film would have been good if it didn't have Sondheim's elements. If it didn't have the Sondheim music, if it didn't have the Sondheim score, the lyrics, it would have been a shitty musical.
Yeah,
like if anybody else did this.
I don't think Burton's done anything to show that he himself can come up with a good musical in and of his own. You know, like
but yes, you're right. But that being said, I also think he was impacted by the story when he was a kid, when he was a college kid. So that made him want to do this well. Yeah. That made him want to do this well as a director, right? I just think this is one of his best in his whole filmography. I know in pop culture, people love the Batmans and people love I obviously love Edward Scissorhands, but even that had more intention in a lot of his pictures. Nightmare was produced by him. It wasn't directed by him. A lot of people don't realize that, but it was written by him, and those characters were created by him. But he didn't direct the film.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice. Obviously, it's got in pop culture again. These popcorn flicks. They're popcorn pictures. I don't think Sweeney Todd. Half of me, 60% of me is like, it's not a popcorn picture. The other 40% is that popcorn picture element that is just like
because you see it in the visuals, you see it in the set design. I mean, really well.
Oh, I want to talk about the set design, but
really well done set design. I was going to say because of the whole like Oscar nomination for it.
Well, it won. It won for set design. It won for set production design. I want to mention this because it's super crucial. Probably my favorite set designer of all time, man, did this film. It was done by two people, him and a woman who I'm not familiar with. I'll look her up right now.
Which one's else has he done?
This guy, the guy that did this is Dante Ferretti. Dante Ferretti is an Italian art director who's done everything with Scorsese since Age of Innocence, maybe.
Oh wow.
He did everything up to Silence with Scorsese, every single picture. But before that, he was Federico Fellini's set designer for Fellini's last film. Now, before that, with other great Italian directors. So he has this great sense. We're going to talk about Gangs of New York 2 weeks?
Soon.
No, next week.
3 weeks.
3 weeks from this episode? No, next week.
2 weeks.
We're going to talk about Gangs of New York soon. He did Gangs of New York.
Yeah, next week.
Next week. It is next week, yeah. Next week, Gangs of New York. I'll deep dive into that a little more because Dante Ferretti, the set design of Gangs of New York is so impressive, and I think they took in a direction or something from this. I think Gangs came first. But
yeah, it was 2000.
I think came right before this, actually. Literally, he did Gangs, and then he did this film.
2 or 4.
The reason that you see, like, are they sets? Like, did they close down blocks? In Gangs of New York, I don't know about this one. I didn't do enough research because I didn't even know it was Dante. 02.
So 5 years.
Okay. So when he did Gangs, I'm sure he took a page out of the same book. When he did Gangs,
Gang.
He built the city blocks of New York, the 5 points, the whole neighborhood. They built every single building you see, which is not something that they did even in the early 2000s anymore. What's more impressive, they shot Gangs of New York in Italy, in Cinecittà, the famous Italian studio. And it felt like fucking New York. It felt like this.
That's crazy.
So Dante Ferretti is very skillful in doing this. I rewatched Side by Side, the film digital documentary, and Ferretti comes out and talks about the DP of Gangs of New York comes out and says, I was offered Chapman, Michael Chapman is the DP. So I was offered a DI. I was offered a color suite for Gangs. I didn't because the set design was I didn't need to do a ton of it.
Oh shit!
I didn't need to do a ton of color. What we got on camera was what we got on camera because of the set building. So just Dante Ferretti is masterful. And for some odd reason, the next project he did, Silence was his last film, and then now he's doing the new Fantastic Four for some odd reason.
What?
That 2025, 2016, he hasn't done anything in between, but he's masterful. And Sweeney Todd's set design won an Oscar because of it. And the only other thing it was nominated for was costume design, and then Johnny Depp's acting nod. Those are the 3 nods it got at the Oscars that year. The production design, I think, again, man, like Tim Burton I don't want to say got lucky, because as a director you hire your
he just got like a really, really solid team.
Yeah, a really solid team, man.
I mean,
was able to schedule,
and it shows. I mean, you look in the design of everything. I love. We don't really see too much of like the I guess basement where they're actually like grinding people up and all that.
Yeah.
But when they finally go there, the design of like the furnace and the design of like the meat grinder and all this kind of stuff, and the way everything's placed and how they come up to it. I mean,
you pointed it out. I want to ask: is the Jaws effect effective in this sense? Not seeing the meat grinding, because we've only seen it in the opening credits.
I feel like it's really well done in the sense that the film, at any time you see a film that I think plays more in the elements of darkness, not that it was shot in dark, but more that they tried to bring down the tones and the lights and all that. In that obscurity, I think it gives your mind more room to play, like what's in the shadows, what's going there, and I think that helps. For something like that helps emphasize it all. You know, faces in the crowd, stuff like that. So I think that it was done really well, and I think again that goes towards the ability of film to tell a story compared to like theater, because in theater everything needs to be lit up, the audience needs to be able to see the light moments and the dark moments, and here they could play in there's
in
something
the mystery.
there's something that comes in from the darkness. Even like when you see the early moments after they kill that first guy who was like his apprentice who was going to blackmail him, you see in the darkness in the background you can start to see the hand and those little elements that are so subtle, but then in theater I don't think you could play into that as much, you know. Not
to mention the use of color.
Oh, absolutely.
In this one, right? The saturation and the black and whites are nice. But when we see color, we see color.
I don't
know.
The
reds, the blues, skies, and the beaches, and the house decoration, the barbershop. Yeah, the pole. When we see color, we see color. I was going to mention, they shot this on film, and they had to, on set, the blood was actually orange because of the offset saturation of the film to give it that specific look.
Also, I feel like it comes into effect that whenever you're trying to like punch up reds in your coloring and all that, the red tones on the face, if they're prevalent at all, will really be punched out. So that's why, you know, the makeup and all that needs to be like spot
I was going to say,
on.
I don't know who Johnny Depp's, we should look it up right now, but Johnny Depp's makeup, because he takes his makeup person to each film. Like, he did it for Tusk, which is why I know this, the penis nose. But this specific makeup, they chose a lot of purples and browns for his makeup. Which is exactly that, right? Purples are a version of reds. So like to see that desaturation on his face, because he was still pale and there was still that kind of blue aura around his face when they saturate the reds. Yeah. That's super impressive, man. That's super intentional.
I don't know who said it. It was I thought it was a Japanese director, but they said that when you see red on the screen, or like when you see blood in film shouldn't be looked at like, oh, it's blood. What it is that it's red. And red can symbolize a lot of things.
Yeah, passion,
that's why blood
anger,
looks different in each film, because it's not like they're always trying to be realistic. Sometimes it's dark because it's meant to show like the evils within, or sometimes it's super vibrant because it's all the passion flowing out, as we see in here. I think every time you see the blood come out, especially like the end scene, it's all that passion. I'm still
trying to make the correlation. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, externalizing his internal emotions, right? The blood is really coming out in these moments. I'm trying to make the connection because Tim Burton was quoted as saying that he wanted the blood to be a type of representation of what they did in Kill Bill. There's a similar version. It's a revenge story. Kill Bill's a revenge story. She's looking for her daughter. And the blood is that same thing, right? I'm going to kill until I get my daughter. So maybe that's the connection.
I think it's passion, because especially like when you see that he kills all these people, and even though blood's gushing out from the onset, it's not like it's staining the floors everywhere, or even when they land in that pit, it's not flowing everywhere. But when they cut his throat, the blood's pouring everywhere, and it's just all the passion that he had for his wife and this woman that he spent his time with is
it's
now
almost like the way the blood was dripping was like his tears.
Yeah.
If you really noticed the way it was falling on the face.
I love the line that when he's talking to his blade, he says, we'll see rubies. You will drip rubies. I have a question, because I'm still trying to piece this together for the story, and it doesn't make the most sense to me. There's a surface level answer that I'm not satisfied with. After the daughter's taken, and he thinks he's never going to see her again, and we see that great emotional arc, the killing starts. Killing starts right then, right? And he's hoping to take the life of the guy who stole his daughter. Right. That's the whole catalyst of this picture. What confuses me is she obviously had her angle to give life to her restaurant and be financially okay, right? And then have a family and have that in her life, right? Have that warmth in her life. I'm not satisfied with him killing just because he's mad.
You know what I think it is?
Because he wasn't killing. It's not like Kill Bill where he's killing the boss to get to the next boss, to get to the final boss, to find this judge again. There's no intention behind the killing other than that first one.
No, you know what I think it is?
And the last one.
I think it's the fact that like when you see that line that he's like, I had him here, and he was right there, and I could have done it. And I feel like it's all the killings that aren't satisfying because it's like I could kill anybody I wanted, but I wanted to kill him, and it's almost like he's trying to satisfy that itch where he feels like I just want to get that guy, you know.
But and that's great.
I agree with Carlos. It was like
that's not enough for me. Like it's not enough for me. Like it seems like he's just buying into the woman's desires, right? Like we could use human meat. If you're gonna kill, might as well kill so we can use the human meat.
But don't you see that at a certain point in time, there's more anger and rage in him, and it's this, it's almost like an unquenchable thirst.
Yeah,
but that's not enough for you?
It ends up being greed at that point, right? It ends up being greed. Else, for her specifically, and he's just feeding into her greed. I get it. I get the constant deception. I get the fact. And by the way, I don't think he's killed anybody before Sacha Baron Cohen's character, which also did great, by the way. We haven't talked about the performances yet, but
it was the best one.
Yeah, Baron Cohen was great. After killing that character, he got bloodthirsty, right, to a certain extent. And I get the quenching of not getting the one you want. It's almost like the one that got away for killing. Usually psychopaths go through this thing. I guess what upsets me about it is I've never seen this film before, so my perception of the film coming into it was like, oh, it's going to be this fun little like psychopath killer killing for fun, killing like American Psycho, killing
but the fact that
he had
motive.
Character. Yeah, there's motive. He had the character development. There's a character arc. I love the arc so much that it upsets me that these killings in between didn't mean anything other than quenching the thirst. And it wasn't like thirst for the sake of killing. It was thirst for the sake of not getting the monster that has my daughter. I get that arc. It's just, it just wasn't enough for me.
Because, I mean, it's not like you see him kill... I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not like a ton of people. It's not like the montage was every second he's slitting a new throat. It was like he maybe got around like 6 people.
Nice.
And each
you got
time...
12.
Yeah,
12. There was a total body count was 12.
Yeah.
In the entire film? Okay, but in that first montage, so let's subtract like 1 from Sacha Baron Cohen's and then
the
like
wife.
4 from the starting one. So you got around 8.
The 2 wives.
Yeah, so there's about 8 during that main montage, right? I feel like in that's not like the entire population. It's not the entire amount that he probably
No,
did for the
I know
meat
he
factory.
wasn't just like out slashing for the sake of slashing.
But it shows that like
what, a sense of control.
No.
He killed 8 people.
Yeah, but like we've
Once
all
too
killed
many,
8 people. Like no. I just feel like
it's fine. It's
whenever
fine.
you see him, especially in the singing and in his movements, there's a dissatisfaction. There's a constant sense of dissatisfaction.
You see that in the montage of them buying the beach house and all that.
Yeah, and that's why even though like they get to a point where she's like unsuccessful, he's starting to get to a point where like it doesn't matter, and again it's saying like
okay, you see, I'll buy into that arc a little more. Like the more I kill, the less it matters. So whatever, I'll buy into that arc a little more. Like
at first I thought it was like quenching something, but then after a while it's like it's not getting me any closer to like my wife, and it's not getting me any closer to like my daughter.
That's a better arc. It's not as clear.
That's what I was seeing.
I'll also say I think it was extremely smart to not have him have any type of sympathy for the boy.
Yeah, was that always the ending? Like, does he?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, another moment I would want to see a little more explored. He's so thankful to the mom. I guess you call her the mom character now. That he'll defend her no matter what. So the minute he sees her throw in the fire, now it's fucking payback. This was the woman that took care of me, that finally loved me,
and
that finally.
So,
so that was a very small scene for the boy's arc, right? That ending. That's why that leaves me a little bit unsatisfied. Again, just commercialized to be this 2-hour picture. Those are the moments that I wanted more of.
Yeah.
But getting back to the body count of it all,
12's not that much.
12 is not that much.
That's pretty cash for murder. I'm just gonna say.
Also, man, like
that's pretty cash.
Daughter lives. She gets to go with the love of her life, I guess.
But it was interesting how they left that part kind of also vague.
Yeah.
Where
was it interesting? Was it satisfactory? He didn't even know it was the daughter, right? He didn't end up knowing it was her.
All that moment was
he just said, forget my face.
No. All that was for me is the ultimate in tragedy. That the person you would hope that
that's a good point. That's a good point. It feeds into the tragedy.
Yeah, the person who you hope to find
really
and
point.
say, "I'm your father, and I've come to like save you, and we can restart whatever's left of our family."
Yeah.
Well, now all she's ever seen you as is as a monster, and that's all she's ever going to remember you as. That you're this monster barber, and then the wife's dead now by his hand, and like basically it's just satisfying that he's destroyed his entire life with this rage and this passion,
the greatest tragedies leave you with this unsatisfactory feeling. Romeo and Juliet killed themselves, and it didn't solve anything.
Yeah,
within the
it's really
Capulets
well done, I thought.
No, it is. It's a good arc. It is a really good arc.
I do agree that there's elements of a play that I could definitely see where they would have grown those, especially in the relationship between the boy and that girl, because really the boy just had that one song,
compelling scene.
Yeah, that one song that is like, I'm going to save you one day, I'm going to get you one day, and then after that,
and then
it's kind of like,
and it's like, okay,
yeah, and then that's all it is.
So all you needed was a gun to save her.
Well, no, it's almost like there was only one purpose to him, and then it got solved, and there wasn't any more exploration.
Yeah, there wasn't.
When you see
he was not a three-dimensional character.
Yeah, when you see it in other plays and musicals and all that kind of stuff, there's multiple songs in that person's arc because it's trying to show their shifting emotions.
Their characters, the girl and the guy, the daughter and the boy, they were just catalysts. They were plot devices.
Because if you look at Sweeney Todd, he was the only person to focus on during the entire film, and
and Helena Bonham Connor's character and the boy, they had an arc.
Yeah, they were the only ones to follow because if you're trying to focus on anybody else, it's a lot of dead ends. A lot of like you're saying, they're plot devices. I mean, girl's in the window. I like her. Here's a key. I don't know you, but here's a key, and then it's like, oh, okay, we lost the key.
It feels a little manipulative, but again, it's not its fault because it's a victim of its commercialization, because it's like, okay, the drama behind it is they don't know that the same girl they're after is the daughter. They don't know this. The audience knows this. We're like caught up in the drama of that, and then the twist ends up being this. The mom thing, which was a good thing, but no depth there other than the tragedy factor. So again, I just wanted to see more purpose in those characters, but at the same time,
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's just the exploration of the story feels thin. Where you see that this could have had more potential if it...
The strong parts feel strong, the weak parts feel weak.
Oh.
That's the bottom line with it too. I can't judge the full exploration because the full exploration is valid. It's great. Yeah. But the strong parts of these strong characters and these strong arcs are great. The weak parts are so weak that
suck.
No, but they do take away points off the film.
Really?
That I think would have just like been a much more interesting story for me to explore. But again, it's not its fault, man. Also, it's tough to be a director with a musical that you want to attract people
especially
to.
Adaptations. Adaptations, I think, are always going to be hard because, again, you're trying to say that I can tell the story better through a different medium.
This film is satisfactory on all accounts. It's satisfactory as Tim Burton as a director. More than satisfactory. It's satisfactory as a musical. It's satisfactory as a Stephen Sondheim adaptation. It's satisfactory, and it's a victim of its own kind of thing. And that's not its fault, man. It's hard to judge.
Something I wanted to add in. I've heard for people who say that they have the problem of, the book's better than the movie, right? Where there's a bunch of movies that have been adapted from books, and people say like, I watched or I read the book and then I watched the movie and it was terrible. No, but then I've heard somebody, I forgot who, but somebody mentioned like, the solution is you watch the movie first and then you read the book because the movie is going to get you interested in the story, and then the book's going to satisfy the little bonuses that are attached in. So you're gonna have a better overall experience. But hear me out. In a way, that detracts from a film being the ultimate form of enjoyment of this story.
Exactly.
And I think
here's the weird thing. I've never seen this live. I'd love to see the stage play of it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'd love to see the stage play of it.
You're not invited.
I think about Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda made it a very clear point that he didn't want to make a film adaptation, not the Disney Plus thing, because
that's different.
It's its own thing. It's a recording of the play. He made it very clear that he doesn't want to make a stage adaptation of the film because he wants this stage play to live as a stage play for 10 years. And then maybe we'll explore a film adaptation. I think it's going to fall into the same trope. It's going to be deduced to a 2-hour film. And we're not going to get the full Hamilton. But again, to cater to cinema, to cater to to the commercialization of it all.
Yeah, no.
It sucks that we have to do that, but it's also the best version of that film you might get.
Yeah,
As
because
a film,
that's
a weird.
I see that happening.
Entanglement of it all.
I see that happening absolutely. Where later on they're going to take the rights or so, and they're going to adapt it into a film, and it's going to be probably another Warner Brothers film that's going to be full of spectacle.
And I think
then
that's
it's
what
going
people
to,
like Lynn don't want, and that's what Sondheim didn't want.
But that's I feel like what happens a lot of times when these things are adapted. I mean,
I will say this stage play, this is a Tony Award winning play, the musical. This play was very successful, and what's more is it just had literally just this year opened up in Broadway again, the play. It had a Broadway revival, and that revival, let's do it, it's led by Thomas Kell and Alex Lacamoire. Thomas Kell directed Hamilton, the play. Alex Lacamoire was the music supervisor for Hamilton.
Wow.
So these guys, this was their next project after Hamilton.
By the way, this film was also nominated for a Grammy.
A Grammy for the soundtrack? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's successful by all intents and purposes, but just it still lives on in the mediums that it exists in. Especially theater.
Something I wanted to tackle that we are trying to tackle more.
Yeah.
Castro. Musical is...
Before you get there.
Got it.
Last thing.
Forget it.
Spring of 2025, it's going to have a North American tour. So we'll go see it. Should come to El Paso. So we'll go see it live.
I love North America.
I hope you do.
What about North America?
Not a fan.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Castro.
Do you like
I'm
North
Michael.
America?
But you were talking to Castro.
What's up, dude?
Donkey.
As an actor, you're offered this role, or I'll ask right now which role you would have liked to have played. But the challenge of singing a musical, dancing even, and all that, is that something that you feel adds merit to the people who do these films, or is it something that you just feel like there's that kind of acting, prepping for visual, musical, and the singing lessons and all that? That's them. I got a style that I like in a more grounded reality. Like, what's your take on acting for these kind of films?
I give Johnny Depp mad respect because I don't think he's a singer. He's just he's in a band as a guitarist, I guess.
Yeah. Hollywood Vampires.
I think I read somewhere that he took vocal lessons for this one. Obviously, he would have to. He recorded all his songs.
He did. All of the performances were recorded live, and what's more is...
what do you mean?
Yeah, like on set. It wasn't playback.
No, but the playback, but they mouthed it, right?
No.
Wow.
No, that's what he's saying. It was recorded live.
So they're very rare they do that in a musical film.
Yeah, I'll give that even more credit. I thought they sung it and then they just
I'm sure a couple songs here and there were right? sing, but even then, Helena Bonham Carter, by the way, she was dating Tim Burton. I think they're married now, but she was dating him at the time, and to avoid nepotism, she submitted 12 audition tapes to Mr. Stephen Hansheim to get his approval for these.
Yeah, of course.
And after seeing these tapes, he gave the immediate "she's in." That's her. And Depp had to go through the ringer too to be able to.
But I think they're both perfect for it. That's their style, Helen and Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Helena for sure.
I give Johnny Depp so much credit, man, because that's not even what he does, right? That's not his style, I guess.
It's not. You don't really see him in a ton of musicals, and
or dancing. I'm trying to think like Pirates of the Caribbean, probably.
No, in that one, he's even it's there's a rhythm to his actions and the scenes and sequences, but that's different from flowing with the music. And you obviously see the actors they have their way of dancing around the room, even if it's just stopping at one point and then going to the next, like you would see in a musical,
Yeah.
But yeah, choreography definitely was an element of this film. So
no, yeah, man. Mad respect. I'll definitely go through the ringer to try to do something like this for sure. I've never been into singing or anything. That's why I haven't even tried to hit a note with you guys.
Yeah, but
no, dude. What was the question? Just
what are your thoughts on I guess the challenge? Because I wonder. I guess there's two thoughts. One is for somebody who doesn't act and looks at acting in this perspective, I would just think do people look at these kind of roles and think I'm not that kind of actor, pass on the role? Or do people look at it I know this is a challenge and I want to do it, not because I'm a musical guy, but more because I know the challenge as an actor. Like,
not only that, I always like when I talk to like theater students, I always give them mad respect just for being able to
different discipline, man.
Perform in the crowd. And like we were saying, this is kind of like a play, you know? It's
yeah.
kind of
absolutely.
one of those vibes. So.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely one of those actors that sees it not only as a challenge, but it's just one of those things where it's like,
you have a lot of respect.
Beyond the respect is like, oh man, I'm gonna try to pull that off one of these days. You know, it's not just a challenge.
It makes it a goal.
That's another step.
Yeah.
As an actor, so no, I don't just see it like, that's just the type of thing. It's just one of those that.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny Depp did a musical.
Because I feel like when you look at like standard audiences and the way that they kind of dismiss musicals, in a way they're almost like dismissing everything for a musical. They're dismissing the actors, they're dismissing the directors. Like, it's just a happy little singy La La Land thing.
I want to see Johnny Depp take more risks like this. You know, especially post the Amber Heard drama, which is stupid. It's stupid that dumb shit is getting something. Well, it's stupid that the dumb shit is getting attention again through its Netflix docu-series or whatever. But as I understand it correctly, the next Johnny Depp project he's doing is that he's directing. It's his directorial debut.
Whoa.
He's directing his next film. But I just want to see him take more risks. I want to see him take more risks in dramatic roles. I want to see him,
Do you think he still has that fire?
I do. I think that fire got relit after the court cases. Because he immediately went back on tour with his band after that. He didn't give a shit about the Pirates thing anymore because he was like, all right, Disney wants to abandon me. I'm not going to go back to that. So I think that freed him up to be like, all right, I'm going to get back to what I want to do.
I hope he does, man. Because the last thing I saw that was pretty good was Black Mass.
Black Mass, yeah.
Because, that's my type of film.
Yeah, I think Johnny has a lot of potential, man. And but again, I think he fell into I was watching Entourage recently, and, it's that episode where Vince goes to Ari and says, am I a good actor? And he's like, I didn't sign you because I thought you were a good actor. I signed you because I thought you were a movie star. Yeah. And there's a difference, Johnny Depp has been a movie star for the past 30 years. How about we let him be an actor again? I think I hope that's the I don't know,
trajectory.
The second act of his life, if you will.
Yeah, because the non-blockbusters like Secret Window were.
Secret Window is fantastic. You see.
It's just he's become a name, and I think a lot of people would get him because he's a name,
he's a brand,
and they would throw him into stuff. One that he was thrown into that he wasn't bad, but you could just tell it was a very quick kind of cheap role. Yeah. No offense to Mr. Depp.
Which one?
The Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, that was fun though. See, those are
that was fun, but I felt like when I saw initial marketing where they said like, Johnny Depp's and all this kind of stuff. And then you feel like, okay,
but he had a good role.
But it wasn't like he's saying like how they.
Yeah, it wasn't.
They could have utilized him for more. They could have utilized him for more. And there's films that I don't feel like are going to do much with him just because they see him as that. And maybe
that's why he wanted to direct, right? Maybe that's why he's like, I'm going to give this a shot and get away a little bit. And I think he's starring in it too. He's directing himself. So. I just want to see him take more risks, man. I think, like, for instance, when we think of movie stars, Leo is still constantly taking risks, but he's a movie star by all intents and purposes. Tobey Maguire, man, seeing him in Babylon was like, all right, he stepped away from the movie star thing, and he did this really cool little piece, this really cool little character. Like, I want to see these guys take more risks. And even
he said from doing Spider-Man that he got rejuvenated, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. From the new Spider, I've been wanting to rewatch that one. I've been itching to rewatch that with the three of them. But what I was gonna say too is like, look at Brad Pitt's character, his trajectory right now. He works with Quentin and he gets re-inspired to do these fun little things. Like that's true. He did.
That's why I asked you like, which was
but he did Bullet Train, right?
Oh yeah,
which
like I liked it.
Bullet Train, and then obviously Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I did that one.
But he just did an episode of Dave, which was one of the best things I've seen on TV in the past 20 years. Yeah. That episode deals with Dave, with Brad Pitt having a stalker who was a PA on a music video shoot that they did, and they go to Dave's house, Little Diggy's house, and they're basically tortured. And just the Brad Pitt's character again, he's just fun and taking these cool little risks.
He's all mellow and like
he's all mellow. He's like
I've been through this.
This shit. Like he's playing himself, by the way, a version of himself. But what I mean is these movie stars. Johnny needs to get back into that. I think it would be wonders for his career, man. I mean, we just saw Seven. And 7 for Pitt
Yeah.
was a great acting role, despite what my pal here thinks. What's in the box? What's in the box?
So stupid.
It's in the fucking box.
Do it.
Oh no, man! Oh god, no! Wait, which one? Are
Yeah,
you just
that
like,
Oh God.
yeah, like I hate that. It's so stupid.
Bro, he doesn't know what to do.
Anyways, Pitt's a good actor, but again, Pitt fell into that movie started. I think it was the time he was married to Angelina Jolie. I'm just gonna say
True,
that
no, yeah,
because
Mr. Smith,
Mr. Smith, like that. We got that version of Pitt. I mean, the Ocean's film were fun, I guess, but they weren't acting pieces.
Do you feel like the person that's going on a similar trajectory as far as like Johnny Depp's career? No,
Because I do, but he's doing it right. Go on.
Just because it's doing Wonka?
No,
Wonka, Dune,
Dune 2.
Dune 2, Dune 3. They're talking about a third one already. Yes,
It's a multi-part thing. Anyway,
It's like Twilight.
nah, but you need to do that early in your career. That's a smart thing to do. But he's also still doing character pieces.
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto doesn't give a fuck. I don't think he does.
you don't
no,
think so?
I mean, other than the Joker, other than playing
He's in a
Joker.
band.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
had
he doesn't
success
care,
before.
bro.
Like, dude, he already won an Oscar.
That's
like,
why his body's in his car.
dude, he did Dallas Buyers Club and was extremely amazing in that role.
So now he just doesn't give a fuck
He
and they'll
doesn't
do
give a
whatever.
shit. I don't think he's ever cared. I think he's very quirky. Also, he grew up in Hollywood.
He just cares
So-
about the groupies, bro.
That too, maybe. But no, I think Jared Leto has always taken risks. I think he's one of the Joaquins. Joaquin has always taken risks. You know,
Yeah.
I was telling you, I rewatched Signs recently, and it was such a different Joaquin then. You know, but yeah, I think those guys, these kind of character, Daniel Day-Lewis has never really given a shit. You know, like these guys stayed in the actor role.
Yeah.
They didn't really do the movie star thing. Jared Leto, I don't think he did the movie star,
So,
other than Joker.
Who's the big movie star right now? I feel like a lot of the comedy guys know. Like it's a guy from 21 Jump Street. I forgot what the
Channing Tatum's been obviously he's kind of fallen off a little bit.
Kind of like stopped because they were throwing him into films that he didn't want to do.
Talking to the mic?
Oh, you know, who's one of the actors that kind of like stopped, and he was one of the big actors. Was Josh Hartnett. He got tired
Yeah,
of
I
playing,
wonder
like,
whatever
the-
happened to Hartnett, man.
He got
just
tired of playing playing like the pretty boy.
I've seen him every once in a while.
He's coming
Who
back.
is he?
He's making a comeback now.
Josh Hartnett did 10 Things I Hate About You.
He did like the Faculty with
The
Robert
Faculty.
Rodriguez.
Didn't he do? Wasn't he in the Magnificent Seven? Magnificent
No,
Seven.
I saw him in Lucky
Wasn't he?
Slevin.
He was just in Oppenheimer.
Or maybe I'm thinking of Lucky
Yeah,
Seven.
he's
Huh?
done
He was in
a lot of
Oppenheimer.
good ones.
He was in Oppenheimer. That's right. He had a small role in
Oh
Oppenheimer.
yeah, see, he's doing a comeback now.
Wait,
yeah, Hartnett was a
who
big.
was he in Oppenheimer?
He
One
was
of the sciences.
Yeah,
He
one
was
of-
the
one of those
first
small-
one when Oppenheimer first shows up at the college.
Yeah,
And he's the first one that he
he's the
walks.
one the first, like at the board.
Yeah.
At the
Oh,
blackboard.
okay.
Yeah.
And then he found the equation in the hallway and he started doing it.
Matt Damon. Matt Damon fell
Damon.
into the movie star thing for a little bit, but never really let go of the actor.
Mortimer
thing.
Damon.
Oh, the Great
Mortimer.
Wall.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't talk about
Mark
the Great Wall. There's
Wahlberg.
nothing great about that
Wahlberg.
film.
Mark, Mark Wahlberg's always been.
He's always been kind of the movie star.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
mean,
I'm
The Departed. His role in The Departed was great.
Good old Marky Mark.
Marky
Good old
Mark
Marky Mark.
and the Funky Bunch.
Whoever is in a Transformers movie, those guys are
Which
movies.
sucks, man, because I haven't seen the new one, but
Why
Anthony
wasn't he in the
Anthony
Transformers?
Ramos was the lead
Oh,
in this
yeah,
new
yeah,
one.
yeah, the new one.
I haven't seen it, but I love him. Like since Hamilton, right? Like he did in the Heights, and he's good, man. I didn't want him to go, but he again early in your
Yeah,
career,
yeah,
you got to
yeah.
do these blockbusters,
Exactly.
get your name out there, and then go do the actor pieces, right?
No, yeah,
In
it's
the
a good
Heights.
one.
I mean, even for directors, like we talked about that with Greta and
Yeah,
Noah.
that's true.
For Barbie.
Which is why Greta's doing Barbie, I guess. And the next thing she's doing is Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know how to feel
Yeah,
about
she's
that.
doing that. She's doing the
She's
whole.
doing
Block-
Chronicles?
She's doing Chronicles of Narnia.
So
That's
coming
anyways,
back?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think she's doing like you said. She's doing the whole.
she's
like,
doing the commercial thing.
Yeah,
to
she's doing a couple
get her-
studios to get.
I mean,
Look,
it
we
Hey,
was-
really need to
if
talk
you're
about-
filmmakers and you're actors, man, and you're in this for the long run, you have the first 10 years of your career doing that kind of shit doesn't mean anything versus the next 50 where you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good price to pay.
So
I
if
don't
you
know.
guys you're starting to get your feet wet, they're starting to know your names and all that, and they say like, next thing we want you to do is this superhero film.
Yes.
I'd probably say yes.
Yes.
What if it's Sharknado 7?
Hey, man,
Yes.
the last director, or 2 years ago, the last director
Todd
Oscar
Phillips.
winner, no, what's her name? She did a Marvel film right after she won an Oscar. Zoe Chow, Zoe Chow, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
From Nomadland. She did Eternals right after that.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
really?
I think that was ranked like one of the worst freaking Marvel movies, dude.
Because it's not. But again, She probably shouldn't have. She just won an Oscar. What do you need to go do a Marvel film for? Like, it's one of those trajectories that you could have done that before.
But if you need to get your name out there, you need to, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's such a weird place to be.
We live in a weird, but look at Favreau, man. Like, Favreau did the Iron Man films, did the Marvel games, Star Wars. He did, because he's a good storyteller. But, again, another guy I want to see take risks again.
Oh, yeah. When we had our chef episode, like, that was...
I want him to step away from the blue screen, and I want him to take these risks again as a storyteller and do a Swingers and do a Chef. You know,
Sweeney Todd. Why we can't do movies like that? Because there's no profit back.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we're just in a weird. The market right now is just weird, man. It's just a weird place to live in right now.
We need big, flashy.
Yeah.
The only person who could take risk and be a big like star is the guy who does Avatar.
James Cameron.
James Cameron. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that little director. You know.
That cash guy.
You know whose movies don't make a whole lot of money.
Yeah. But he's a prime example of like making a blockbuster that's good. I mean, like, it was
worth every bit of the wait.
Yeah.
So,
Sweeney Todd.
Fun rating.
Snow White.
You know, I think.
Wow.
I think Rachel Ziegler is going to be a good Snow White. Anyways,
did I tell you the other day I was walking through San Jacinto Plaza, right?
Yeah.
And you know under the little bridge.
Under the bridge downtown.
Yeah, that little like bridge little walkway, you know? Well, there was like
San Jacinto?
Yeah.
The little walkway, yeah.
The little walkway.
Oh, yes, the tiny little.
There was a bunch of little dwarves that came out and mugged me the other day. There was like 6 of them that mugged me. Not happy.
You can't
Not
call
7.
them
You're gonna get Sleepy to mug you, huh?
You didn't get the joke. Damn it.
Yeah.
6 of them mugged me. Not happy.
Yeah, I'm kind of like.
Welcome back.
Did he get beat up by 6 kids?
No, it's because they're the 7 dwarves.
But not happy.
Not happy. Like happy didn't mug me, but also I'm not happy.
It's a double entendre to like I'm not happy. Welcome back.
We're doing so good.
Welcome back.
Final ratings, fellas. Final ratings. Napoleon.
8.5. I'm not gonna back down from that.
Okay.
Why did you say it like that?
I'd keep it at a 9.
Yeah,
I'd keep it at a 7.9 as well.
Yeah, no,
I'm at a 7.9.
I felt like the opinions are valid as far as like the positive and negatives, but I definitely enjoyed it thoroughly.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk too much about it, but this whole concept of like the pantheon of cinema, top films to watch before you die, and all that. I mean, I don't know if it made it into that kind of list for me, but it definitely made it into like.
It's fun.
Something I want to come back to. Like, definitely the way Austin says, like, he watches it once a year. I want to watch it, like, at least once a year and show people because super interesting pick.
Yeah.
Super interesting for Tim Burton.
It's a good double hitter, right? Like, you can show this to your aunt who's not into cinema, but you can also show this to filmmaker friends and be like, hey, there's some validity here. There's some reference.
For the dog when you leave home.
What did he throw at you this time? Yeah, it was great. It was great, man. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I finally have it off
thank you for sharing it.
my list. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the best ones of that era. You know, the early 2000s was not a great era of cinema, and this film did well. It was one of the good ones of that era for sure.
Yeah, like I said, it was just one of those like I kind of got lost, or maybe with the promoting, or it was just. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, Mr. Young, thank you for showing us the film, man. I think. He's a good pick.
I'm gonna blur it out.
It's definitely.
Why?
So
we curse on this podcast all the time.
Yeah,
for the fun of it.
Definitely watch it.
Yeah, go check it out. Go check out Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, it came out during December, but I think it's going to be a great pick for
it's a good
Halloween.
Pick. It's a good Halloween pick for sure.
Oh my goodness!
And I think it's also again
people.
like we did with comedy where we bridged back into drama and stuff. I think this is a good bridge into Halloween picks.
Yeah.
Even though next week is Gangs.
Well, even though I know that's my fault.
Do you want to explain it?
We'll discuss
why
why.
we're doing
it.
No, you've already explained it.
But we're gonna
I haven't.
it again.
Yeah, you have.
When?
The last podcast at the very end.
Oh.
So no intro needed. No, I'm joking.
No, but next week we're doing Gangs in New York. only because Killers of the Flower Moon comes out 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage people to get back into
Originally,
Marty.
it was supposed to come out that week.
Yeah, it got pushed 2 weeks because it's getting a wide release, which I'm really happy about. It's getting an international wide release.
I'm sorry, man.
We'll see. The marketing's getting better. You see the two new posters that dropped? They look phenomenal, dude.
I'm sorry, man.
But what I will say is,
what will you say?
I want people to get back into period piece, Marty, and which is why Gangs of New York is a great example, I think, to hop into that before we get into Killers of the Flower Moon.
Makes sense.
And I just love that film, so it's gonna be a great thing to talk about. But next week we'll do Gangs of New York. Go watch Sweeney Todd. If you're a Tim Burton fan, you've probably already seen it. If you're a Johnny Depp fan, you've probably already seen it. It's good for their catalogs. It's good for each of their catalogs.
It also gets you in the mood. It's dark.
For what?
It's moody. Halloween.
Oh, right.
Hey, Gusto, do you need a shave?
And on that note, anybody else got anything else to say? Sweeney Todd.
No. Can you give Gusto a shave, please?
Do you need a shave?
After watching that film. No, but it's great. It's a great pick, man. Great to kind of dive into that.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching the WatchTower Film Podcast.
And if you stuck around this long and you're part of our 92 people who watch but aren't subscribed.
Yeah. It's 92 percentile. Subscribe to the podcast, please.
Come on.
Get in the box.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life?
Look out the goal.
Thank you for tuning in as always.
Or listening.
Or
listening on Spotify, and to our many international listeners and viewers.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I think Austin mentioned like the UK and
British.
Ireland and British. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning. We a bottle wall, bro.
Did we just lose all of our UK
we lost
fans?
every single one of them because
That's not even a good accent.
Hey, by the way, this was a good British accent on Depp's part. Just gonna throw that out there. Helena Bonham Carter's British already, so she sure got it done.
Yeah.
But Depp did good on the British accent.
Bogdanovich.
Gang.
On that cinematic note, Peter Bogdanovich, thank you for tuning into the WatchTower Film Podcast. Tune in next week for Gangs of New York, and please help us like, share, comment, and subscribe below or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Love you guys.
Good night.